Well, a lot of people will be heading here to New York City. Of course, it's a New Year's Eve right around the corner. But Mayor Eric Adams is expected to make a public speech about safety in just about an hour and a half, set for 2 p.m. today. Earlier today, Mayor Adams was on CNN talking about the meeting he had with White House officials, talking about the border crisis. Take a listen.
Hundreds this national is really impacting, and it has the potential destabilizing the financial obligations that we have in our cities. And the meeting with the White House, I think much more could be done, and with all of our national leaders, from a decompression strategy to making sure the cost of this is not falling on the laps of everyday taxpayers in our cities.
Bring in our panel now to discuss the border, and it is a pleasure to have back Sheriff Tad Cleveland, Terrell County, Texas, right there on the front lines, and also senior fellow at the America First Policy Institute, Fred Fleitz, with a very expansive new article about global instability we're going to talk about right now. Gentlemen, welcome in. I want to ask you, Sheriff, when you hear Eric Adams' concerns and complaints, wow, well, you're down the front lines in Texas. What do you make of these sanctuary city mayors complaining now?
Well, and howdy to you, Bianca. Thanks for having me back. And first and foremost, I think we need to get away from calling it a crisis. It's well beyond that. It's a catastrophe now. And to speak of those mayors, you know what? I'm glad they're feeling the pain that we felt down here on the border for the last 3 years. When President Biden and his administration took over, it was the safest, securest border. I can say that. As you know, I was a Border Patrol agent, and we had finally gotten to a point where we were, making the impact. Illegal alien apprehensions were going down. But with that said, I'm tired of hearing them whine. I don't want to hear the whining no more.
Yeah, and, you say catastrophe, Fred, in a way, it's dereliction of duties. And you lay out exactly in this piece that you wrote recently, and there's one up on NewsMax.com about, the Biden administration's failure to secure our border is not just a national security issue here. It's a signal to all of our enemies around the world of the weakness. In particular, though, speak to about this meeting down in Mexico City where you say basically Obrador mocked Mayorkas and Blinken. They had no tangible results. We had the president of Mexico saying, we need more money. You need to reinstate relations with Cuba and Venezuela.
Well, Bianca, you wouldn't know that from the mainstream media, which is basically reporting what the Biden administration said, that this was a productive meeting. At best, this was a photo op. I think it was a debacle. The Mexican government agreed to do nothing. It said this is an American problem. They talked about amnesty. It said this is an American problem. They talked about amnesty. They talked about reopening border crossings. And the Mexican government, the Mexican president said basically, I'll talk to you, but I want you to first improve relations with Venezuela and Cuba. I just think the Mexican government has no respect for Joe Biden, and they're not going to do anything to fix this problem.
No, and where does it land? It lands on the Border Patrol agents, and it lands on Texas, now being threatened by the DOJ that if they enforce laws, they're going to be sued. This just came in moments ago. These are some new numbers here. They're record encounters again. Sheriff, I know a lot of the folks that you guys have, they run, they don't turn themselves in. But the ones that do turn themselves in, CBP is saying 5,000 to 6,000 every day with notice to appears. They are single adults. Mostly military age, 60% of the total encounters at our southern border. They're here for years, and we don't know what their plans are for us. Sheriff, I'll let you take that.
Yes, ma'am. And I've said on interviews before, here in Terrell County, 54 miles of border with Mexico, we don't have a crime problem here in Terrell County. What we have is a national security issue, and it's that same issue across the 2,000-mile border with Mexico. Also I want to touch on, with the new law here in Texas. They thought very carefully about that, and I think they want it challenged. I'm certain they want it challenged, and they looked at what Arizona did years ago, and I think they're prepared for that challenge, and they're well ready to plead their case if they have to.
Finally, I have about 30 seconds. We showed a beautiful picture of St. Croix. That's where Biden is. He's at the beach again, Fred. While the world is on fire, you really pulled it out here in this piece about Russia. Ukraine not able to turn the tide on the war this year. We've got China and Taiwan, and we've got North Korea yesterday also rumbling again, and Iran, of course, where we are sending them money and funding both sides of this war. Your final thoughts as we enter 2024, and it doesn't look as beautiful as this picture here.
I think 2024 is going to be very dangerous for global security. The world sees Biden as the weakest president in history. And our adversaries and illegal immigrants, they are going to work to take advantage of that weakness before Biden is replaced, probably by Donald Trump next January. And the number of migrants we're seeing in 2023, that's nothing compared to the huge surge we're going to see as illegal migrants race to the southern border before Trump closes it next January, hopefully.
Yes, well, great to have you both in. Sobering and frank discussion that Americans obviously want to know what is the reality, and you certainly gave them good perspective on that. Fred and Sheriff Cleveland, I appreciate you both joining me today on Newsline.
Good to be here. Happy New Year.
Thank you. So we just told you a little bit of what